Hi, I am Joanna. Welcome to my DIY life. Today is another Sew It Saturday, and a few of you have been asking me through this whole sewing series how to read a pattern. Y'all, I'm not even gonna lie, I am as nervous as a cat on a tin roof. I do not know everything about reading a pattern, okay? I'll just be honest with you. Personally, I'm one of those that like to look at pictures, okay? I can read it to a certain extent. I know what I'm doing. I sewed clothes for kids for years and sold those as a business. And so I'm not, ignorant to the fact, but I don't know it all, just to let you know. So anyways, I don't know how long this is going to take. So I have this pattern. You do not have to use a pattern like this. They all read the same. A pattern is a pattern, okay? The symbols and all that are similar. So I'm going to be sewing one of these little dresses for my granddaughter. And I got this beautiful little corduroy thin fabric to make my granddaughter's dress. I picked this up at Hobby Lobby in their fall section. So let's get to it, okay? Okay, so here's the pattern. And when you open it, you will have a folded up, usually this color, brown, thin tissue paper stuff, okay? Well, when I did clothes for kids, of course, these come in different sizes, and I'm not one to cut a pattern down. This one here is really easy. You can just fold it. It's just the arm that's going to give you an issue, but it's not that much of a difference, to be honest with you. So this one I would just fold down, but normally I just lay all the pattern out, and then I would get the paper that you use at, I have a roll of it, you've seen it before on this channel, of the tracing paper or medical paper. And I just lay it down and trace all my patterns and then cut those out, okay? So I'm going to do this dress right here. So your patterns will have your letters on them with what you need. So D, everything that's a D, I will cut out and use in this pattern. When you turn your pattern over, this is how you measure your child, which I don't. She wears size 2. So we're just going to do a size 2. And it'll tell you that for A, B dress, how much you need. And then for C, how much you need. So I'm not going to embellish this with anything fancy. I'm just going to do a basic dress, okay? So this is your pattern. When you take it out, you'll have your pattern, and then you'll have the instruction sheet. On your instruction sheet, this will show you how you can lay your pattern pieces down on your fabric to get the most out of your fabric. Now, first and foremost, before you do any project with clothing, you want to make sure that you wash and dry your fabric so that when it shrinks, it does it before you sew it, so you don't have, wavy and wonky doodads. But anyway, these have, okay, it'll tell you these arrows right here is a grain line, okay? This means that when you lay this down, your grain of your fabric runs this way. You match it right sides together, selvage to selvage edge, which means the raw edge to raw edge. You want to cut these out fine, but if it has any elastic guides or anything like that, you can just fussy cut around them because all you're going to do is measure elastic, okay? So I have 2 of them. I don't know why I'm talking so country. I don't know. But anyways, what you're going to do is you're going to start, once you got your fabric prepped, make sure that you're getting both sides of your fabric. Now, I do not rotary cut with these. If you want to, go ahead. I'm not that good with a rotary cutter, so I'm going to use my scissors. But all I'm going to do is take this pattern, and I like flat pins so that it don't pull your pattern up. Now when you pin your pieces, you want to make sure that you pin them. If you have any curves, pin in those curves, because when you're going around those curves, it's going to pick it up and it'll make it weird when you're sewing it. So the only thing else I want to tell you about the patterns, they have notches, okay? I'll zoom in so you can see. But these little notches are important when you're cutting, and I'll show you how to cut those out and why you need to cut those out. But let me just pin my pattern down first, okay? Okay, so this says you cut one on fold. That's why you put this folded edge. It'll say center fold here. You place that on your fold. That's what these arrows mean right here. Now there's one on the back of this, but because I didn't, you can fold your fabric in half and then fold it in half again, but I didn't cut mine. I'm going to use this part for a hair bow. I'll have plenty enough for that to match. But I flipped this one over, and then I took a pencil and marked my markings where I need to, you know, make sure I cut out right there. And the reason being, this one will have 2, and that's for the back. Your back normally has 2 or 3, so your piece here will match your pieces here. So this would be the back of the sleeve. This would be the front. There's 1 on the front, 1 on the front, 2 on the back, 2 on the back. Then this right here is the lower skirt front and back, which is the ruffle, you know. So it says cut 2 on the fold. So you'd place your fold here like you did these, but I'm just going to have to cut 2 of them. This says you need 2 of them, so when you have it folded, of course, you have 2 of them. So now I'm just going to take my scissors, and when you, this dash and this dash, you'll want to cut out because it matches these dashes, okay? When you go up here, and it'll tell you what seam allowance to sew too. Your 5/8 on your machine, it's usually 5/8 seam allowances on clothing. Okay, so I hope you can see me. I'm pretty sure you can. I'll show you on this one, I know, if you can't see this one. But when you get there to your dashes, okay, you'll want to clip to it. Don't go past it. Pull your fabric up, and you're going to cut like this, and then cut back like this, and you just cut your notch out. Now make sure when you start cutting again that you don't cut your notch off, because I have done that. So you make sure your notch is under, and then you make simple short snips to get around this curve, okay? This is another reason why I like going to the other side, because it works better. Well, I clipped one fabric and forgot the other side. Y'all, it's the angle, and I can't move it. So then this one will show you where to match it up with that one. So you'll cut down to your notch. Go out and just make a triangle. They don't have to be perfect. It's just you need to know where to line your fabrics up, okay? And that's what those notches are for alignment purposes. So there's our first piece cut. Yay. Now this is the back, so you're going to have 2 notches. So what you're going to do is, I don't necessarily cut 2 notches. I cut one big, long notch. Then I know that long notch is my back. And I'll do the same for the back of the back part, okay? Okay, I want to show y'all something. I do this a lot, okay? I'll make this mistake a lot. When I'm cutting and I'm thinking, y'all see what I did? I cut this notch out. There's 2 notches here for the back. I forgot to cut those out. Now, if you don't want to cut those out, all you have to do is take chalk. Make sure it's something that comes off, okay? Especially if you're on the other side. And all I'm going to do is mark right here, so that I know this right here is my back, okay? So I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm just going to retrace my markings. Okay, so we got our pattern cut out, yeehaw. So now what we're going to do is assemble. So I won't need these anymore. Now look, I don't like to use clips because I don't want my junk to move, okay? I'm old school and I like my pins. That's why I made this. If you don't, use your Wonder clips, your hair clips, whatever clips you want to clip, okay? That's your business. So this is a step-by-step process. So what you're going to do is, it says to stitch your front and back together. So you want right sides together, okay? And no lint. So take your front and your back, and you're going to put your front and your back together. Now, if you try to put this up here, you're not going to match. That's why it's important to cut or mark your notches. So what you're going to do is you're going to lay this together. You're going to line up this. So then all you do is put your pins in, okay? You don't need that many with corduroy, honestly, because it sticks. But for any shifting, we're going to use pins. Now, before I sew anything, I just like to get it all assembled, and then before I sit down. I can take these and go ahead and it'll tell me over here to stitch these two pieces together, right? Now you can add lace to the bottom if you want to, and you want to do this before you gather anything because it makes it a lot easier. So, oh, wrong sides together. I mean, right sides together. So because I told you I wasn't going to add anything, I'm just leaving it basic. Now I am going to be using a few feet today that you may not have but will benefit you abundantly. And I've used them before. One of them is a gathering foot and the other is a rolled hammer. But anyway, you just want to put these two together and pin them on their sides, okay? Because these have to be sewn together. Now, if you have a serger, you can serge these as well. I will serge all of my edges. If you don't have a serger, you can very well zigzag. But because I have a serger, my granddaughter's going to be wearing this, I'm definitely going to use it, okay? I'm not going to sew it with a serger. I will use the machine, and then I'll go back and serge my edges. It just cleans everything up and makes it look so much better. So now I'm going to go over to the machine, and it tells you in your pattern, general directions, it'll tell you that most is a 5/8 seam unless otherwise stated. Most machines have 5/8 on it. If not, you can measure your 5/8 out, put a piece of tape down on one of them seam guide things, and use that. Okay, so I've got my machine set, and to get my 5/8, okay, my machine measures, my 5/8 is way out here if your needle is in the middle. So I'm going to go all the way over. Now when you go all the way over, that pretty much gives you, it's starting right here, your 5/8 if it was in the middle, okay? That's just how I like to sew things because I know where I'm going. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to take my pins out, and I'm simply going to sew straight stitches all the way down, and then I'll take it over and serge it to seal my edges. I had to drag this machine back out, y'all. The other one's just for embroidery now, but this baby is my favorite of all time. Now that's sewn, we'll deal with that in a minute. Now we're going to straight stitch your sides. And all you're doing is going right down the side. Okay, so it tells you now to take your sleeve and sew your sleeve together. Okay, so I am going to do that, but before I do that, they want you to sew it together and then you'll serge or prep your edges, because this does unravel. So you'll fold it flat or fold it to the side, whichever you want to do. I'm just going to put mine to the side to show you. Then what they want you to do for this sleeve or any sleeve is take this, fold it up, and then fold it up again and sew you a casing. I'm not going to fold mine and fold it up again. I am going to go over to my serger and I'm going to serge the edges of this on both sleeves before I do anything else, because I want to finish my edges. While I am at the serger, I'm going to serge these sides and the sides of my dress as well. That serger, I wasn't allowed to talk over there because the mic that I have is not capable of plugging in that tripod where I have my serger at, so I couldn't say anything. But you've seen how I turned and finished my seams. You keep your needle in at all times when you flip or when you pull your string down and catch it like that right there, and your edges look so much better. Now I have some sergers linked, especially mine. I love mine because it's so easy to thread. And I have it linked, but I have an option of a Singer, and there's also a Janome, but the Janome they say is hard to thread. It's cheaper, of course. I mean, you know, whatever you choose to do. I'm going to go over there and sew these and serge them, okay? And then I'll be right back. Now what you're going to do on your arms is you're going to fold this up. You're going to have room for your elastic. Now you're going to need your elastic pieces. There are two types of elastic. This is knit and it's non-roll, and it looks a little rougher than this one. So what this is, these are little elastic guides. This is your neck neck elastic, okay? And I use a thinner one on the neck. That's just my preference. You can use whatever. Of course, you don't want 1 or 1.5 inch elastic around your neck, but you know, this is nice non-roll elastic. So for the two, you just measure down and this is just your guide, okay? This is what most 2-year-old toddlers have, and you cut it off there. I will also tell you, if you want to alter the sleeves on a pattern, when you cut it out, okay, I just thought about this. I should have made her 3/4 length sleeve, but I didn't. But you just take your pattern and you just extend out. You just take a ruler and set your ruler down, and you even your ruler up with this, and then you go down just a little bit longer. You can measure your child's arm or just guesstimate, okay? Then you do the same to the other side, and you could put a piece of paper under it and draw your pattern on there to extend your sleeve, or you could just do it on your fabric if you choose to. Take your elastic, hold it in there, and then go around where your elastic is. Now you want enough room to sew. So what I do is I like to use this as my guide for when I sew. So I'll put my elastic in, and you want to make sure your elastic goes over it. I mean, your fabric goes over it, so you'll have room to stitch, because you're going to have to thread this through there. And you don't want it real tight, but you don't want it so loose that it flip-flops. It's kind of a happy medium you have to find through there. But it's doable. So if I put this here and then I use this to sew on this line as my guide, I'll have enough. I will make it, okay? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go around and I'm going to iron both of my sleeves to sew my casing in. Now you're going to go over to your machine and you are going to top stitch right along your line or wherever you choose. Now make sure you leave a space for you to thread your elastic through, okay? Now I'm going to try to show you 2 easy ways to do this, okay? Most machines come apart, but like if you're on a vintage machine, you can't take this thing off on most of them, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to take it and you're going to fold it the right way, okay? Then you're going to tuck this under here, right under your needle. And make sure, or right under your presser foot, make sure you don't catch the back of your fabric, you know. Now you just sew around. And my needle's on that side, so if I keep this on this edge, it's just going right across my serger line like I want it. Now when you get back, make sure you leave it opening so you got to thread your elastic. That's one way. Now, if your machine comes apart, then you would pull this off and you would take yours and leave it the way you ironed it, okay? And then you just slip it over your arm here. Now make sure you leave a space. Sorry, I bounced because there's a hole in here. This is a vintage machine and I've covered it up, and without this base, I jump. Okay, so I'll go slow. And there you go. This way is easier, just so you know. Now we're going to put our sleeves in the dress, okay? So what you want to do is, you know, you have to have right sides together. So flick your sleeve out. Flick, flip, whatever. Now, this is a side that goes to the front. Now this is a booger, I'll tell you. When you flip it here, you know that's the wrong sleeve. So get your other sleeve. Sorry, I had to cough. My allergies are blah. Now you want to pin your little notches together, okay? Make sure you pin them right sides together, okay? You don't want to pin your sleeve on wrong. I'm going to do the same to the other side. So I'm going to sew this on, and I'm just leaving my needle over to the side where it was, because that's, you know, all this is 5/8 seams unless otherwise stated. And I didn't see it stated, but here we go. Okay, so you want to make sure you pinch, because you don't want this to move, because you just pulled your pin out. But you're going to have to move your fabric, okay? Make sure the back is not, you want to make sure it's all flat. This gets bunchy right here, so you really have to make sure it's all flat. Now I'm going to serge this. Now I'm all serged, and I'm just going to stay here because my camera's already here. So you want to make double sure that you do not get another piece under here, because that serger will cut it off, and it's not like a seam rip, honey. When it's gone, you're done. So anyway, but my sleeves are in my dress, So when I pull my dress out, look at there. There is a sleeve. Yeehaw! So now it'll tell you to fold this down and then fold it down and then sew along your little edge right here. Well, you know I got a serger, so I'm just going to serge around my edge and then I'll sew that down, okay? But let me show you what I'm doing with this first. This is your bottom ruffle, okay? And you're going to want to fold this in and iron it down because you want a little piece you got to catch, and then iron it again, okay? I'm not about that. You can serge it and then flip it up, or you can use a rolled hem foot, which is this right here, okay? And I have a number 6. I think this is my biggest one. Yes, it is my biggest one. So all I do is pop my foot off, and you've seen me use this foot before. Make sure your thread's in your crack where it belongs. You always want your thread in your cracks. That creases, there ain't creases, it's a crack. It's a crack. Deal with it, it's a crack. So now I'm going to take my piece, okay? The only problem I have is going over these darn hump seam things. But I'm going to fold it in. This foot is very, very good for thinner fabrics. And then I'm going to fold in again. It's not hard, y'all. It's just me. Okay, it'll be about that big, I hope. I pretty much judge these great. So then you put your thing in and you pull your needle over where you know it's going to catch your fabric, okay? Mine usually has to be on 4.5. So what you're going to do is you're going to make a couple stitches. Leave your needle down. Pull this up. Pull your fabric up in this crack. There'll be an edge there, and it goes in there, I promise. See? I had to cock way over there. I finally got it. Okay. Now all I'm going to do is I like to pull up some because it seems to work better for me. But all you got to do now is just sew, okay? This will catch. I cock it to the side. Now when I get here, I have to fold over and help it a little bit, okay? It needs help because that's thick going through that whole crack deal. But once you get it, you just start pulling your fabric. When you get to the end, I take it out and then just run it through. Y'all, this foot is not a necessity, but it sure enough is a big help, okay? It's awesome. It is awesome. I use it a lot. A lot. And it makes the most beautiful little hem for you. Then all you gotta do is clip your stitches, okay? Now, the other foot, the other foot I'm gonna show you is, they have 2 of them, and it's called a gathering foot. You can use a ruffler. I'm not good with a ruffler. This is better for me. This is a snap-on, and it works, but only with very, very thin fabrics, like chiffon, maybe silk, or something like that. The best one is these ones that screw on, and all you do is unscrew your little foot back there. I'm having so much trouble because I am on the stinking phone. Oh, I promise. There. I can't see, okay? And I usually got my face all down in what I'm doing. But anyway, remove this one, all right? Put this one on, screw it down. I know it's a pain in the butt. I used to have a machine set up just for this when I did clothes for a living, but I didn't do all these crafts at that time, so it was easier for me to have all the machines out. But now I just have to change them out because I don't sew that much. But before you tighten it down, put your foot down, okay? And then make sure that it's lined up, and then you just want to give it a twist and tighten. Now you want to make sure that your thread goes down underneath of here, so run your thread through and then pull it through. Okay, now this will make this almost perfect. You want to take your tension and run it all the way up to 9 on your tension dial. Then you want your stitch length as high as it will go. That means as long as it will go. Mine will go on 4.8 on this digital machine. Now I'm just going to start at one of these right here. And I don't go over these. My needle, you don't want it all the way over, but you want it over enough to, if you put it all the way over, it won't ruffle, okay? When you get to your seam, stop, pull some thread out in case you do have to adjust. Make sure your thread's not in there, so you want to pull it to the back and then go again and leave strings on this end as well. Now I have my skirt part, or my little ruffle done. I have the top of my dress done. Now you can add the ruffle or you can do the top. That's up to you. When you do the top, if you know, I just serge. So you have to do the same with your elastic and iron it and sew it, your little casing in there. Easy peasy. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to attach the ruffle. Now I'm not going to serge anything as of yet, alright? I'm going to take my dress. Oh my god, this is going to be so stinking cute on her. Okay, sorry, just had a moment. Now this, if you cut it out and you use that foot, it should line up almost perfectly. Now I don't use my dashes. This is what I was telling you. I just gather between the two doodads as even, or the two seams as even as I can. They're not doodads, they are seams. Get it together, Joanna. Okay, so this is why I said leave some string. So what I do is I put the two sides together, alright? This is just me. Y'all asked how I read a pattern and how I do stuff. This is how I do it. Make sure this ain't caught. Now, I will tell you, when you pull one, you better just pull the one, and it needs to be the bottom, the one that you sewed on the bottom. So if you gathered it like this, you need to pull this bottom thread right here. You'll know when you start pulling. So see, you just start gathering up a little bit and pulling slightly. This is why you leave that tail, because you need to pull sometimes. Sometimes it matches up perfect. Sometimes you have to let it out a little bit. It depends on the fabric and how it's going to ruffle, okay? You can just stitch a line through it, or you can put a basting stitch in. I'm not about doing anything by hand. If I have a tool to do it better, then you can guarantee I'm going to do it better, faster and easier. So now I just find the middle and the middle, and I pin in the middle. Then I start pulling this up and pinning and pulling and getting it even as I go to stitch this down. And that's all you got to do. Got this all serged, and I will tell you, whether you serge or sew, make sure that when you do, you go past your stitch line here, because you don't want that showing on this side when you flip it over, okay? So make sure you sew underneath your stitch line so that you don't have your stitches showing. That is so stinking cute. Y'all, I'm so excited. I cannot wait to see her in this. I will post a picture if I can. I'm supposed to get her today. And I will post a picture if it fits right. I'm not going to embarrass myself. No, it might be a little big. I always make her clothes big because she can grow into them. She's 3 foot tall, though. So if she's 3 foot tall, you know, this is going to fit pretty good. Pretty good. So now I'm just going to go put my casing in here and then we'll go from there. Now comes the easy part. I have these pins that I get at Hobby Lobby. I have them linked in my Amazon store too. And all you do is put them through there. They don't have the little doodad in the middle so it doesn't catch. I threaded one and then I thought I'd tell you. This works great. It's short and it fits right through here. And all you do is run your elastic through. Now for the neck I use this. But for this one, since it's so small, your bodkin will catch in there. So if you don't want it to come out, you take another little safety pin and just pin it, okay? Now if you pin this to the sleeve, you know it ain't gonna go nowhere. So then you can just pull this till your little heart's content, honey, and it'll come out this end, but it won't come out this end. All right, we're back. Okay, make sure when you do this that you keep this elastic flat. Make it flat. Doesn't matter how tight you got this because it'll spread out in the long run anyhow. So now you take this in and make sure it's flat. And then you take this end, make sure it's flat. It's going to flip over this way right here. And then I put the two together. And then I'm going to take a little pin and I'm going to go in and then catch the other side because we're going to zigzag over this to tighten that. Now on the neck, I'm just going to take this bodkin and slide it down. That booger ain't going nowhere. And then you just find your hole where you didn't sew it, and it's easier to find on this side than the other side. Now you just run your bodkin all the way around through there. And if you have to secure your elastic, do so and make sure you're keeping this as flat as you possibly can. Now you're going to want to put your machine on a zigzag, okay? This is how I do my elastic. Put your foot down, and it doesn't matter what color. Now take and go, I turn my crank, okay? And I'll put a stitch in. This is a little too wide. Put a stitch in, put a stitch in, put a stitch in. Then I pull this out, okay? So I make sure I don't hit it. That's why I'm doing it myself. Do that on all your elastics and they're attached and they can stretch, okay? That's the point of doing the zigzag that way. Now on this, you have to pull your fabric, but you don't have to pull it through the feed dog. You know what I'm saying? You just have to stretch this out just a little bit. Now you can wrap it around your machine if that makes it easier for you. That's up to you. Make sure you catch and don't leave a gap. You got to go where you stopped. See what I'm saying? Got to catch that whole big old hole right there. Make sure you back stitch. Do this on all your openings. We are done. Look how darling. And you'll know the front and the back, but it really doesn't matter. But if you want to put a bow on there, you can tell this comes down a little bit. You can put a bow there. You can dress these up with different body. Look, this is the pattern, okay? It looks a little wonky because this is the Create Kids Couture CKC kids pattern, and this is the dress, and then they used contrasting fabric let me say that again, contrasting fabric for the sleeves and the ruffle. You can do that as well. You can add trim here, or you can add trim here. Y'all, I had to add a bow to the front. I just thought it was so much cuter. Tell me what you think. The hardest part was seriously me putting the rolled hemmer on there, and it's not that hard. I'm blind as a bat, I'm telling y'all, and I usually have my face like right on it so I see what I'm doing, and I couldn't see to flip it up in there, but it's really not that hard, or I wouldn't use it, because I don't like stuff that's hard to do. So anyways, if you like this video and I helped you, please leave me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel and ring that bell to be notified every time I upload a video. Until next time, remember, you are a blessing and I truly appreciate you. Goodbye.